like newscasts where they're like, yeah. Airplane, you know what I'm talking about? Where there's, the guy has the like,
I did.
and he's like this at the camera, and then switch cameras, he goes.
I think we're on.
All right. Hi, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. So I'm Sharon Brandon, and we are middle school instructional facilitators for computer science. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about how we try and integrate into the curriculum for the teachers. There's a bit.ly up there for you to access, as well as a QR code if you want to scan with your phone.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Sharon Brandon. You guys introduce yourself.
My name is Mike Speidel. I'm an instructional facilitator for computer science, just like Sharon. Responsible for implementing computer science in the 4 core at 6 different middle schools.
And I am Angie Fraser, same role as these two, and I have 5 middle schools that I work with.
And I have 6 middle schools. We all do 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. So our agenda today is to kind of just take you on a brief journey through how we got started in Loudoun County, and then some strategies for successful implementation for you. And then the fun part, hopefully the longest part of the session, will be the playground, where we will actually explore with some of the resources and some fun tools that we have. All right, so computer science in Loudoun County Public Schools.
So this logo that you see here actually has a meaning. You guys saw it kind of flashing at the very beginning. Each component of this logo has a meaning. So for example, the French brackets are obviously have to do with code. Right? The first one is the yellow is fueling integration. So it's like gasoline, right? The color of gasoline. We're starting a fire of fueling integration. We're sparking innovation, and finally, hopefully igniting innovation. So that's what the components of our logo. So when you see them, each one has its own mission, statement. This one's yours.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our overall vision being to fuel the integration, spark inspiration, and ignite innovation. And that goes for the students as well as the teachers. Our mission statement has evolved over the past 3 years, and this is our final mission statement. We're really proud of it. We're really passionate about this. So I'm just gonna, I don't usually read out loud off the screen, but I want to read this to you. Our mission is to prepare all learners with essential computational thinking and computer science skills by facilitating meaningful, content integrated learning experiences that support our LCPS profile of a graduate and the culturally responsive framework. So it's a mouthful, but it is really meaningful to us. So I appreciate you letting me read that out loud to you. So our implementation journey in Loudoun County, we started 3 years ago, right? This is our third full year. I came on board as a middle school facilitator at the beginning, and then Mike joined last year and Angie joined this year. And Angie, you're going to walk us through our coaching model. Right?
Yes, I am. So we are coaches, as facilitators is another way of saying coaches, right? So we go in and we work with teachers to help them design lessons that's going to integrate computer science and computational thinking into it. So we kind of follow a roadmap for our approach. So we begin with computational thinking. So we work with a team of teachers and we help them to understand how they already apply computational thinking within their classroom. And then we also give some suggestions on how else they can do that. We then, once we feel like they have a grasp of how computational thinking is used within the classroom, we then move on to making connections with the computer science SOLs. if you do not know already, our state has adopted standards, computer science standards for all grade levels K through 8. And so some of our teachers are still not aware of that. And so this is where we inform them of that. We show them the SOLs and we talk about how we can make connections from their content to the computer science SOLs. And oftentimes the way we make connections can be with the computational thinking. It doesn't have to be equipment, but then we also do have equipment. So we have robots and other tools that we can use to help them make these connections with the SOLs. And so once we go through this entire model, we can move on to a next set of teachers, or we can move on to a next grade level. We're still available to the teachers that we have been working with, but we want to try and incorporate the entire school. Our intention is not to stay with one set of teachers. So this is how we actually circulate throughout the entire school.
Okay, so for computational thinking, you may have heard different definitions or descriptions of computational thinking all over the place. We get our model from Ignite My Future and we follow those concepts. So I like to think of computational thinking as basically problem solving. Everybody has problems in all aspects of their life, and school and personal. And you can think of computational thinking as a strategy for problem solving. There are all these different concepts that you can use all of them in one problem or just a couple here and there as it applies to your situation. So we develop these icons to go along with the concepts. We've got the brain, because we're of course using our brain problem solving. And the 7 components are abstraction, analyzing data, developing algorithms, finding patterns, decomposing problems, collecting data, building models. And you can use them, pieces together, some of them, all of them. But the students really start to understand that computational thinking is a strategy to help them understand their world and make sense of things. It applies not just to computer science, but to so many things. So that's really helpful when we're trying to integrate into the content areas. It is pretty eye-opening. Like if I go in and work with an English teacher, they might think, computer science has nothing to do with me. But then when you kind of apply these concepts to what they're already doing, like writing an essay, then it's like, oh, I get it. It kind of does make sense. Complex change.
Wow. So this is my slide. So I'm sorry. So we've all had things that we've had to implement at time, I'm sure, right? And for some reason, some of those things are successful and some of those things are not successful. What this right here is what we kind of use to implement our coaching strategy and our program itself, right? There's obviously these things, you have vision, skills, incentives, resources, action plans. If you have all of those things in your project or whatever it is that you're rolling out, you're more likely to be successful, all right? If you're missing one of those, what I like is that it shows you what exactly you're going to run into, right? So if you don't have a plan, you're going to probably have a lot of false starts where you start going, oh crap, we got to do something different. We got to take a different approach, right? So this is a wonderful, wonderful way to look at change, how you're managing change, what your end users are feeling, and maybe, whatever it is that they're feeling, if they're feeling frustration, maybe they're frustrated because they don't have the resources. Or maybe they're feeling resistance because they don't have any incentives. There's no reason for them to do that thing, all right? So this is just a wonderful graphic that encapsulates everything for you. So here we go. So I'm doing drones now, aren't I?
You are. I'll switch.
So one of the things that's kind of very, very neat is we have programmable drones. You guys are going to have an opportunity, if you so desire, to program those drones and fly those drones. So one of the things that we talked about earlier is we always want to show you the instructional piece of this, right? So in Science 8, a couple years ago, actually last year, right? Last year, what we ended up doing was there's this wonderful platform called EarSketch, which is a digital platform that allows you to code music. If you think about music, music is just a repetitive pattern, as is coding, right? So it's a wonderful resource for coding music. Well, we had kids who were at home last year as well, kids who were face-to-face, right? So the kids who were at home coded music while the kids who were in school were coding drones to be choreographed to their music. All right. So that way they were doing all those things. And that hits all the 8th grade standards. Standards, they talk about sound waves. They used to talk about Bernoulli's principle and fluid dynamics. They don't anymore. They took that out of there. But they do still talk about air pressure, which is essentially what the drones are. So what you're seeing right here is a group of kids who have coded their drone. I'll see if I can turn the sound on. Any sound? No sound. Oh, it's all good. But there's actually music that's coded to these drones, and you can see them. It was really, really cool. One set of kids, they actually did a Romeo and Juliet themed one where they had Romeo up, and I always mess this up, the Montagues, sorry. The Montagues were chasing on. It was a really, really cool thing to see. So they even incorporated language arts a little bit. So one of the nice things is that we're always going to show you instructional practices that we do. So the root robot is probably one of my favorites. I'll hold it up for you if you want.
Sure. All right, so this guy is called the Irobot root coding robot, and this is awesome. It does a million things. So it responds to touch. If you touch the 4 pads there, it does respond to touch. It makes sound. It will move, of course. And that guy is also magnetic. So you can stick it, if you have a whiteboard that is magnetic, you can stick that guy to a whiteboard and it will move on the whiteboard. It also draws and erases, and it also picks up color. So there's many things that this thing can do. So if you are interested, the root robot, well, there's 4 different stations in the room. You're welcome to stay in the room when we go to stations. And I've also included for you 3 different lessons, you say, or activities that are content related. So the watershed and the solar system are both science content related. And then of course the English language arts, which is really clever. They draw a plot line. That one is for English, which a lot of times the English teachers just don't think that computer science is going to be applicable. It is. And so if you're interested in working with the root robot, then please stay in the room and we'll have people here to help you with that.
Those 3 examples were actual things that we did with teachers in classrooms this year. And another thing, I don't know if you mentioned it, but I love it so much. I'll say it twice if she already said it. The root robot right on the app has 3 levels of coding. It has the Scratch Junior type blocks. It has the regular Scratch type blocks. And it's right there. You can just click 1, 2, 3. Level 3 is actually Python coding. So they might be using level 2 Scratch blocks, and they can just click on level 3 to see what it looks like in Python. I love it. It's so cool. I geek out over it.
Another, we don't have a station necessarily in the room, but another resource that we love, our students love, is Scratch. And we have a tutorial that you can look at should you want to know how to get started with Scratch and see what Scratch is like. We also have some lessons that we actually did in the classrooms related to using Scratch. And there is also an assessment. So a lot of times we get the questions, okay, so we're going to use these tools. How do you assess this, right? I need to grade this stuff. So we have some ideas for assessment. So please make sure you connect to our presentation so that you can access these links and get some real examples of how this can be used effectively in your classrooms.
So the first station that we're gonna do is one that we did it 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we did it during distance learning. So we had kids who were at home, but they needed to do we had all these robots at the school, right? Well, one of those Sharon school, I don't know why, but they decided to send out a whole bunch of robots that we gave them to all their kids, and dogs chewed on them, pieces, the half came back. You know how that went, right? Fortunately, this particular school didn't do that, and we had the robots there. The way that it worked is we used these tools right here. We used Chrome Remote Desktop. This is an Edison robot right here. You guys won't be using those today, but we will be giving one away. Right? The nice part about these things is They're kind of quirky, they're neat in the sense that one, they're 30 bucks a piece. All right. So they're inexpensive. If something gets broken, it's not the end of the world, right? The other really interesting part about it, for those of us that are older, you guys remember the old dial-up sound, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry, is that again, Mike Speidel?
I'm not doing that again. Did it once. So what the really interesting part is that's how this communicates with the computer. It actually communicates via sound. So you hook it into the headphone jack, and it converts the sound to an infrared like your remote at home, and then programs the robot. It can also be programmed via stripes, so barcodes as well. All right. It's a really, really nice tool. We used it last year for our another thing that we did. We'll explain later. Sorry. So as you can see, here are the science standards that we hit. Here's a computer science that we hit. Link to the lesson plan. We have a full lesson plan for you guys that breaks down how everything works. All right. You're welcome to check it out. Now, this is for the people who are virtual. Okay. People who are virtual, those of you that are here physically, you're welcome to come out and see how it works. All right. But the people who are virtual are going to go into either breakout room 1 or breakout room 2. One person in there is going to connect to the computer that we have sitting in the hallway out there and actually program a robot that's sitting here in the conference center. Right? I've set up a course out there. You guys may have seen them on the road with like these weird pine cones. So that group is going to get together. They're going to have debuggers. They're going to have programmers. Somebody's going to actually manipulate that computer, send the code, and the robot's going to take off. Okay. There's a really nice video. I won't show it to you guys because we're running short on time. If you click on that image of kids actually talking and conversing and working together. Those of you that are in the virtual room, here's a hint. Make sure you look at start and how it's spelled on your camera. Because some cameras, all right, that's a little hint for you guys. The other thing is Kodak. This is an amazing data analysis tool, which is free. All right. What we ended up doing this year, and this is again for the virtual people, I've broken it down so they can do the entire activity on their own without anybody there. Okay. So they click on these links, it'll walk them right through. What CODAP is CODAP stands for Common Online Data Analysis Platform. And it is a wonderful, wonderful tool to analyze data. Far too often we have kids just graph stuff in a spreadsheet and say, yep, they graphed it, they know how to do it, they've analyzed this data. Well, how do they know the relationship between this individual data point here on this question and this individual data point on this individual question? They don't when they do that. When they use a tool like CODAP, they get to. It's amazing. What you'll see here in this little picture, I know Loudoun County's never in the news about anything, right? And this was one that I'm surprised I didn't get more backlash on. The project it was 8th grade civics, and they were doing polling. So what the students did is they came up with a list of questions that they wanted to find out what was important to Democrats, what were important to Republicans, what issues are important to these individual groups. And the kids had to come up with a social media post. One of the questions the kids asked was, what's your age? What's your favorite social media? All those things, those demographic questions. The kids had to come up with a social media post to convince a white woman who's 42 years of age, who's a Democrat, to come and vote because they had all of that information. So they had to create a social media post to try and bring that person in. So not only are they learning how to do all that and analyze data, they're also learning how people try and make you manipulate your thinking, right? It's an amazing tool. And the best part is there's already pre-existing data sets. So you don't have to go and build a data set. In this particular case, we just had the kids build a data set. They built a Google form, Google spreadsheet, turn it into a CSV, dump it and see it in a CODAP, and the kids are off and running, analyzing their data. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. So the virtual people will have an opportunity to go jump off and do that on their own. No one else is going to be there in that particular room. All right, we ready to go in the rooms?
Yeah, I think so,
All right.
unless, are we
Any
gonna
questions before we go?
Yeah, let's give our stuff away here.
questions and stuff? Any questions right now? We have the remote robotics out there, we've got the drones out there, and the roots are in here, and then the online stuff, the breakout rooms, the CODAP and
Right.
everything. So questions right now? Yes.
Curious, how much does that cost?
The root robot?
They're $199. It's more than the Edison, but they do so much.
Yeah.
Hey, Angie,
Yes.
real quick, point of clarification. The one that's 199 is the one that's magnetic that you discussed. The one that's 179 is not magnetic. So you need to be careful if you're purchasing those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do we have a wheel for giving things away? No? How are we doing?
Do it.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, we'll do prizes at the end.
So those of you that want to do drones, come on out here. If you want to see the remote robotics, it's right out here as well. In this room will be the routes, right?
Yep. Oh, we have 4 stations. Please pick your station, and we have some people to help you. Have you seen these before? So what we do is
Yeah, we have a bunch of those.
So then you can.
If you're connected, so this is the brain.
So I'm gonna let this guy, let's see.
Yeah, so yeah, we're, yeah.
This
This is like a whole one.
This was already a program that.
That was the muscles that got so confused.
So you can think them up.
So. All of his block.
Oh, but there's another. I don't know why it looks like the same touch. I love it. Yeah, and there's different touches that will show up.
I've got ideas, but.
Draw, so you have your square, right? So these are the 3 levels that they were telling us about, excuse me. So the picture level is level 1. Level 2 is block
I'm gonna
based.
tell you.
Yeah. And level 3 is the text. The students are able to do their level. Say there's a student waiting for a robot. About 1-to-1, you do have this emulator that you can use to practice until you can get your hands on your actual robot. So feel free if you want to.
Because not everyone knows. Yeah. Okay, so now you guys are going to.
in. There's a whole list of projects that are already pre-done.
Got it.
Now you can select this project in your project. So if anybody wants to give it a try, feel free to.
License or.
Yeah, you do that. Okay. You guys can announce, maybe I should do it. Yeah, I was thinking, there we go.
There is a web application if you want to use your PC. So if unless you don't like this.
Well, maybe somebody else will do.
And then there is a.
So definitely, so on the Chromebook, I don't have one here, there is a website that you go to, and then everything else is just like this.
So I didn't need to at all, because I'll make it.
They are exact, which is the cool part, so it can actually draw on the whiteboard. It's like.
Yes, well, I don't know if we got on the box, but we like did there's a way, like, squared off maps.
So you want to say, you want this to go. They're right there. So it's
Yeah.
right along the way.
It's given to us, so this is something that you have to purchase. It does come in a store over that map over there. That comes with this.
I don't know if you're gonna.
That's right. And you know,
She's like,
Yeah.
all right.
yeah? I'm already maxed
It
out.
has to
So
be-
I haven't encountered any problems
Now.
with it. Does it not problem before? I
It's
haven't
just-
encountered it.
But like, it's like,
Where you
is
have
it?
to move it,
is
so you have to move it forward.
Oh, you've never been in a room full of
Yeah.
spirits.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Right?
don't know.
And like, oh, two spirits in the room together? No, but two spirits.
Right. Well, you know what, because you've been at it before, I've been at it a couple of months ago. Where a lot of teachers, 20 kids were using it at the same time. Now, this guy just is having it wasn't running. His best is there. But I didn't have any kids just. So I don't have experience with sparrow.
No.
These are good. I'm lucky.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I'm in elementary.
These are great.
You're fine. Okay. I'll just get out of the tree and
Yeah, from which is on and all.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Okay, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've always been on this.
You mean, okay, we have phones. So some of you we also have there's is an has for grade level. Working with us, but in general, what's your the weekend, like. So they're the checkout system, the same thing.
I got it. What number is yours? So I don't connect to yours. They're five?
There it is, right at the top. You guys have you were. Oh, yeah.
Got
It
it.
should show up on.
Thank you.
Oh,
It should show up.
okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, it is on that, okay. There you go.
For the code to make that
Yeah, it
split.
should be.
I was like,
Wow.
I'll go back to it.
yeah.
So, now.
It is. Spheros is kind of tricky, kind of makes me.
Yeah, they're like walking.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you guys.
Middle school.
It's not a.
16.
Yeah,
I guess, is it only going on this?
Yay.
Is that right now?
What were they doing?
So if I end up just.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Give it
that-
a difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, class comes with
it.
Yeah.
So it's set as default to 16 some years, but you could change it to something else.
When you have it on a drive.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
it does still work as a whiteboard.
It's like,
Which is
you
fun,
buy-
but it's just
Arrow, turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to get them.
Well, it makes it easier.
Now.
Makes it easier to show off what they've done to a whole class instead of trying to get everybody around.
a little square.
A little square.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, be able to play with that board.
No, well, that was, I
Desk,
don't know.
whatever, everybody can still see.
Yeah.
Well, that was a draw sheet.
I mean, if you need the board, you can also put the board like somehow connect it to your whiteboard.
Now,
if you need to, or this is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just nice to have it up.
Yeah.
Pretty, they're very strict.
Please go forward.
That's fantastic. I use little Isabel's all the time, but they're tiny. And they're not very thin.
Oh, drawing.
Yeah.
We have a couple sets that are.
I would say the next generation got a lot better as far as like their ability.
Yeah, we had some of the, we had like.
This is totally like-
It feels like it's here much better.
Yeah, but that was like the.
Didn't it give us a?
I have to use a method too.
Oh, no, those are like,
But they're like also so small.
They're
Which
like-
has a point value.
they're like this, and honestly, like we could.
Yeah.
But like, oh, yeah. They were like, on the screen and then flashes.
Yeah.
The drawback for that is sometimes the flashing, like depending on how you focus, it will take like 7 or 8 minutes. There's also an experience.
Bingo.
Oh.
It has to be
Do
a
you-
right. There's a lot of little mini shows. Or like in a case.
Alright, so let's start.
It's like they're great when they're great.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny because I thought the same thing. Well, we got somewhere, we started to draw with it
And then they
and.
follow it. So no, they do them, send the photo tutorial. And then they'll. They're very durable.
Oh, that was my mistake.
Sorry,
You're
like, I'm waiting for that blue screen to come up.
You're the one that always keep the zoom on.
But I just think it'd be great to have,
Like, you know, the ones that.
I used to check just like.
That's exactly, it was literally Jackson Pollock was in.
Right.
Yeah, which is awesome.
I love it, like I use like
So,
something fresh.
it was
'cause our kids
Jackson
have had
Pollock.
the same-
I did, so the idea was they were learning about that.
Somebody else needs to take a turn.
Really?
The fact that it just. So what they do is they lay out.
Like doing coding for so long.
The spheroid. Dip it
Oh,
down,
those are
put it down, and then the spheroid.
it's always what I-
I got it, I'm
already.
just
Right.
Very good to bring a fresh.
So
Yeah.
starting technically,
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
And
and you
range
And it's the.
I think our microphones are like
We
blocked.
don't have them to show them, but one, if you go to the presentation.
We're trying to.
We don't have them.
Okay.
We have.
Was there a QR code?
What kind of change
change?
did you use?
I was.
Okay,
Okay,
is
is that it?
That's
Like,
regular.
I can't show
Taking you to a presentation? Was that a Google form?
Oh, Ebot's coming around.
Okay.
I do
so
like
me-
Ebot's and.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I like Ebot's better than the coding them out.
We did.
Because they're just, they're performance type type.
Okay, you can preset this. And I'm
Awesome, it was a fun project.
So no, we just
This reminds me.
set up spheroids.
What are you on? I do.
What element?
Got it, yep.
Why?
I was elementary and I'm more, I'm able to do now middle and
Alright, so
and,
why?
the transition to departmentalization.
Oh, it's like.
Like the slide they had on like what's missing, made a lot of sense to me, because right now, like,
Like, yeah, it's just different.
Okay, I mean,
Ways that.
Is it working?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just here now.
I was.
Oh, I was too.
Oh, cool, where'd you go?
I was at Henley.
Cool.
For 3 years and then Henrico.
It's really funny because I just made the exact same, switch. My new man got a job. So we moved.
I can get this. Jackie got it like
I was.
3 hours later. It's like.
But then, Bridget was hiring literally an LTI.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And I applied for it. See how that shakes out.
Yeah.
And so like we moved.
Where were you?
I was at, my school, Charlottesville, Stone Robinson, and then like, you know, like LTIs.
Yeah.
Yours was kind of
Yeah.
yeah, but also, that's good, James.
Okay. I was there 20.
Oh,
yeah.
It just.
I went
Obviously, it's gotta be
I
more.
just wanted to.
Gotta be more curious.
I used to work at computers for
Yes.
kids.
Oh.
Downtown. And.
Let me change the light.
Yeah,
I like, that's why when I saw the collegiate position, I was like, okay.
Great, that'll work, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Their Spark Space that they have up there. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I would love to.
Should erase that.
I don't.
Not my forbid.
There's a lot of similarities I see. Yeah. I mean, Albemarle's bigger. I'm an IT student.
There you go.
So there's a lot of things that are very similar in terms of because they're like not so different.
Like a group figurine on it, like a set of group. Groups, like it's just a perfect. Just do one of those, put it on top, they all.
We've been wanting one for a while. So it's been a fun, like, adjustment. Yeah, I think that's the whole
They just shot. Oh. Just 8 bits. Just 8 bits.
Not a full day.
7 bits.
You want us to.
Oh, we're sorry.
But I have to, what devices?
We can't have 2 smart asses in one school, it's not handling that.
Yeah.
Okay, I do like it. Surprising. I.
Find your.
No,
Okay,
so
so
So when I was in high school, so I was like used to that.
It is not my house. We are not, so maybe another group is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say when I worked on iPad,
Everything's always.
you have to really.
It is. Well, I think you're my money too. Trust me. Oh, that's funny. I was just talking to somebody about page count, right? Ray and page count. Yeah, so on my way here, I think she used to work. in
I feel like
page
if you
count.
guys
She knows something about page count.
Yes.
So she was talking about the ways some stories or something that she was.
Can you tell me that person's name?
Dr. King.
I mean, not for me, but it does for
It's
the.
something with Ben County. I forgot exactly.
I know,
I think
but,
many years ago when she was in Fairfax.
Okay.
Oh, so one, okay.
Okay, I was on a different Dr. Kramer, but now I'm with you.
Okay, yeah, this is, so she
Yeah.
used to work back in
So
the
that-
90s. I
Maybe
think
kind of like stuff.
she had a lot of stories, but there was some work that she did with Page County,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so it was a long drive, right? We had lots of, but she was saying some really good things about who it is that she was working.
Well, that's.
Which so-
Yes, it is.
We are a poor county. So we're like.
Like as if they were.
Like, if like add
Yes.
computer.
So when I
World
thought,
Wars this grant.
it's
So that was the time when I said, hey, you know what we could buy? And so they asked us about. Anything that you want.
You didn't know about this? Yeah.
So we did ask for some.
sometimes I kind of want to try that out.
Okay, so that's good.
No.
I asked the instructor, I was like, hey, do you guys go behind the second
The
building?
second generation, we don't really want the first generation.
really cool.
Making sound without plugging in.
Oh.
Making sound without plugging in.
Yeah.
But obviously somebody did. Of course, we have a few factors.
Yeah. If you get a lesson on television.
Yeah.
It's just, they really tell me you do a lot.
Yeah.
And they're
That's
cheap.
like,
Inexpensive, but I think they're $10.
but also sometimes it's funny, like, I'm gonna play
quite
flash.
inexpensive.
And so, like,
Yeah, and also like, sometimes adults make mistakes that we have to remember, so thank you for letting me know.
I speak from one to another. It's pretty versatile. Programming.
Yep, because I can look at what you want, have electives also, right? So we're doing integration.
So
I used to
when
be
they get to high school.
an elective teacher at the middle school. To have the kids create music.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have kids open up Google Drive, like we use it as a laptop for things. Sometimes I would just pull it. I do a lot of
I think our tech ed people have that.
I was actually gonna say, you can play with it.
And they would
That's
send
what
me
we do.
there, and you don't actually know.
That's right.
It's slightly better when you have to.
It sounds 100 times better.
How
But
does
still,
it-
but still, it's something different.
People at least experience it. You're interested in it because you've got the option to see it.
Okay.
But it's a lot more fun when you can use the temperature sensor and have it do something based on whether it's cold or hot. And stick it outside your window and you have to. It's more fun than a simulation, so. Oh, did you? And I have done the first course where it's all the little activities running around. That's just cool. So I want to know what you want from physically, what you have. Do you like, what do you have? Even though I fully understand. Why do you? Okay, that's satisfying. It is.
Yeah, that's just like really, in schools, you like decided to start.
Right, so on the screen, somehow it's like the screen made a mistake or something, but when it didn't go left, you expected.
Okay, so this is what I have.
So the kids like, it just makes sense.
Yeah, well, Chris just did it, yeah. You can try it, Dad.
Feel more like using real life. Sure. Because in real life, I don't care if the program is not again, but I'm tired as long as it does. But in real life, I can picture.
Yeah, if you're gonna do drone delivery, you better go to the right address.
Yes.
Oh, I think you got to.
And I don't know if you've seen them, but my daughter's college practice robots that deliver their food.
Is that George Mason?
Yes.
I've heard about it. It is, yeah.
And it's not far from them.
It is, I went there for my master's.
Well, I guess it's a week and a half.
Congratulations.
So we are using numbers here.
But yeah, so I've been going to see her since she was a freshman.
No.
There's these little robots, the first.
As our way.
And so in the beginning, there were only like 2 or 3 of them, and now they're.
I saw something in the paper. I saw a bunch of.
I will say that, so this is like. I know who has an animal. So. I mean, this time.
We're just.
So.
Extremely cautious.
Okay, so the touch button, you want to do it?
So.
Okay, so my question
I saw them always doing it. And it's like very interesting. That's why I like to do is like you would put it. I have recorded. So.
You see them
running all the time, so whenever
If
you order.
you just.
Right.
They order from.
And then.
So yeah, I will.
Oh, you did. And then this is what they want. It's gonna have the last.
Well, you might
Okay.
So it's just a table, you know, whatever the problem is here.
Oh, is that
Bring it on, you say bye, and it off it goes.
Yes, yeah.
That's all. It's actually really honest.
So I gave them this template and I was like, literally,
You know what I'm
So
saying?
now you just have to like just
Have
go
to go,
down.
take an hour, take an hour away.
and then just change. So they love, it's always shocking. They did like the.
Yeah, oh, yes. Okay.
And then.
Not as it might not really.
So I gotta.
So you actually, if you're gonna do it, you would do it next week. Because they're in final.
On here, but like this. And then you just have like say screenshots in there.
Yeah, so when you touch me,
Check
Yeah.
into it and then like Mark just like your entire.
Just think of when there's access, then we have. But
Absolutely.
because you know there's somebody programming.
It does.
That's what I-
What's that like? What I was
We had the rule like.
If you walk in on
Do
your
like
list,
fast.
so I have to try to get something. But there's.
That was really. I mean, they don't keep just.
You get scared.
It goes back to when I was thinking.
She's like, they get scared if you get too close. So she did so inside of it, you get scared.
They can submit it as the.
That's how much trickier.
You have
Oh, I like things like.
It's right there.
Freeze up when you get too close. So you're on the experience, when you get too close, it's just stop.
To stop. Oh my God. But these are great. So have you seen them at all?
I have not.
So are there,
First I've heard of it.
so-
It's King of the Shield.
Yeah.
But you usually just do it because otherwise they'll never.
Yeah. They are neat.
That is good. And I was like, yeah, just like these things.
Oh, yeah.
You should.
Every time you chance to approach
Every time you.
So the same
I'm
thing.
used to that.
Okay, so yeah, so these guys, I don't know, they're out of Australia, but I think they have. That's what we have.
So like,
We have.
I have a couple days.
Yeah, yeah, so I've used them in my classroom.
I like that.
They're
It's like a very good.
Well, what would you like? Do you wanna come? Yeah, I'm done.
It's like it would be worth something when he said it.
Like that was one of my I go by that. So but you can do that. I don't think was on campus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they don't even have to exit my name. Because like they'll have the kids.
And then,
yeah. Oh, yeah, like big in the middle.
You're the real outsider.
I would.
somebody gets sort of answer.
Not inclusive.
It was just restricted.
Yeah, where do you go?
So here's what
Okay.
you scan the QR code.
That's why I like yours, because she didn't have to.
Okay.
I was just like, I had to look at my profile.
It's really excellent.
Yes.
You have literally just copy all their names.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember. I remember.
There's like a really.
And then
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I remember that.
Right. Call people back in.
Okay, do you know where you want to?
The LinkedIn change was just a set.
Okay, do you know where you So I would also look at.
So you cut across. You don't even have your spreadsheet that has names, copy and paste names, put in a wheel, make the wheel spin.
Yeah, it's been working on that, but that's how app. Oh, I feel like.
Hey, have you seen the changes to Effort app? So I'm making notes in your all's presentation. For your evaluations.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe like four. Did you hear that? Yeah, so we have like four stars. So we have, yeah, well, this is our supervisor.
Oh, hi.
Hi, they would like to know how to schedule. So, yeah, so, here's one of my friends. Yeah. Yeah, I made it like. Yeah, that's why I said, you need to talk to him.
We actually have another one. And Rico. Her family's down in Richmond. So,
Nice, just go to bed.
A little bit, and then just leave. Yeah, that's it. That's not for you to do.
Exactly.
I work both for apps department
All right.
and like I provide balance. So I support the app teaching. Computer science, CS value.
Yeah.
No. She does me.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Forgive them and I just forgive them. If you're interested in this.
Yeah, that's.
Because we were like.
Yeah.